Minister Shikli, thank you for hosting this conference. And all of you, distinguished guests who have come here, I want to start with two words. Thank you. Thank you for coming to Jerusalem. Thank you for standing with Israel. Thank you for standing with the Jewish people. Thank you for standing with the forces of civilization against the forces of barbarism. I say barbarism because anti-Semitism is a disease carried by barbarians that threaten all civilized societies. After the Holocaust, it was often said that few, if any, foresaw its horrors. This is patently not true. Herzl saw it at the turn of the 20th century. He wrote more than 30 times about the impending destruction of European Jewry. He wrote, and I quote, "The stone is rolling down the mountain slope to the bottom, the absolute bottom. Will there be devastation? Will there be confiscation? Will they expel us? Will they murder us? I anticipate all these things and more." Jabotinsky, a student of Herzl, saw this clearly. In 1938, he stood in Warsaw and issued a final desperate call to his fellow Jews. He said, "You are blind, you do not see, but those who do see, save yourselves, leave now." Another person who saw it was my father, the late Professor Ben-Zion Netanyahu. He issued his own prescient warning 5 years earlier, in 1933, with the rise of Hitler. He was 23 years old, and he wrote what appears, in hindsight, to be an astonishing prophecy. I quote, "Racial anti-Semitism is inciting a global war against the existence of the Jews as a race that poisons human society. If racial anti-Semitism spreads, it will not only endanger Jewish rights, but the existence of Jewish people everywhere. In the face of the Holocaust facing the Jewish people, the Holocaust," my father wrote, "our role is to repeatedly remind the entire world what Germany is inculcating to its own sons. We can only crush racial anti-Semitism if we prove that German racism is not directed at Jews alone. We must convince others that Hitler's attacks on the Jews of Germany is an attack on human society as a whole." End quote. Perhaps the history of the 20th century and the fate of multitudes, including 6 million Jews, would have been different if more had paid heed to such warnings at the time. Today we issue a similar warning. The fate of free societies is tied to their willingness to fight the scourge of anti-Semitism. For anti-Semitism legitimizes and unleashes wanton violence against a part of human society just because of the identity of its members. Not because of anything they do, but because of who they are. And once this principle is practiced on one group, it has no limits. 80 years ago, this deadly virus destroyed a third of the Jewish people. Its virulent mutations under the Nazis claimed the lives of millions more, until it was stamped out by unrelenting Allied military force. Now this hatred has reemerged. It has reemerged through its radical Islamist carriers in Yemen, Iran, Lebanon, Gaza, and elsewhere. These anti-Semites wish to destroy not only the Jewish state, they seek to destroy the forces of modernity in the Arab and Muslim world. They seek to drag it back to a primitive and violent medievalism. Nowhere was this fanaticism better demonstrated than on October 7th. The Hamas monsters who attacked us on that day beheaded our men, raped our women, and burnt our babies. They took 251 innocent people hostage, including grandmothers, including their grandchildren. We brought back 196 of these hostages, 147 of them alive. We are determined to bring all of them home. But here's what we learned that day, for those who needed to learn it. We learned that if they could, these savage Hamas killers would murder all of us, down to the last man, woman, and child. And this hatred, as Chancellor Scholz of Germany told me, he said, they're not different from the Nazis. They're exactly the same as the Nazis. That is true. But today, the Jewish people are in a different position from where we were on the eve of the Holocaust. The Holocaust comprised of 5,000 October 7th. 5,000. The scattered and defenseless Jewish people were totally powerless to resist it. This is not the case today. Today we have a state. Today we have an army. Today we can defend ourselves. And today we do defend ourselves. Our brave soldiers, our brave, incredibly brave soldiers, rolled back the terrorist tide. They boldly fight against our would-be destroyers. For 18 months, they have fought like lions on 7 fronts. On October 7th, we were surprised. We had a terrible, terrible massacre. And many believed that Israel was on the verge of extinction. Nasrallah put it very clearly. He said the Jewish state, the Jewish army, that's no more than a spider's web, and it could be easily swept aside. Well, a year and a half later, Nasrallah is gone, Haniya is gone, Sinwar is gone, Def is gone, and Assad is gone. We have battered Hamas. We have brought Hezbollah to its knees. We destroyed the remnants of Syria's army. We hit the Houthis with the great help of our American allies. And we exposed Iran's vulnerability. We have changed, we are changing the face of the Middle East. We are giving it a new future. Yet as we win the war against the forces of anti-Semitism in the Middle East, the fires of anti-Semitism rage in the heart of Western civilization. They rage in Europe's capitals, in the Western press, in social media. They rage in America's elite universities. I went to one of them. I can't believe that in Boston, in Cambridge, in MIT where I went to school, in nearby Harvard, in Columbia in New York, and elsewhere, people are demonstrating with passion. These ignorant demonstrators. Who are they demonstrating for? For these murderers, these rapists, these mass killers. This is a reflection of a deep rot that has pervaded the intellectual hub of free societies. And this vilification of Israel, the Jewish people, and Western values has been propagated by a systemic alliance between the ultra-progressive left and radical Islam. it must be resolutely fought by civilized societies to safeguard their future. This is why we must all commend President Trump's decisive actions against anti-Semitism, and we must pressure other governments to do the same. I know that you share this resolve to fight anti-Semitism. That's why you're here. That's why I salute your coming here to Jerusalem, to express your refusal to cower before anti-Semitism. Now you have come from many lands. I welcome all those from across the political spectrum, be they from the left or from the right, who realize that anti-Semitism is intrinsically evil and that it threatens their own future. I salute you for coming to Jerusalem. And as for the Jewish people, well, many wonder why anti-Semitism has persisted from the Middle Ages down to modern times. The answer to this is complex, but it has two powerful and prominent elements. Throughout the course of their wanderings, the Jewish people suffered from a deadly duality. They were prominent, but they were also weak. And this deadly duality invited envy and aggression with horrendous consequences down the ages. The nations of the world have long been habituated to regard the Jew as a helpless victim, totally powerless before plunder, pillage, and pogrom. Well, you know from your own lives and from the lives of nations, old habits die hard. Sometimes it takes more than a generation to effect a change of perception. Our tormentors are now undergoing a change of perception. They realize a simple truth. We are no longer powerless. We are no longer weak. As Herzl predicted in 1896, the Maccabees, he said, the Maccabees will rise again. The Jews who wish for a state will have it. We shall live at last as free men on our own soil. The world will be freed by our liberty, enriched by our wealth, magnified by our greatness. And whatever we accomplish there for our own welfare will powerfully benefit all of humanity. All this has happened. Israel is a fount of innovation, of progress, which we share with all of humanity. But the most important change is this. Our soldiers are truly the modern Maccabees. We refuse to surrender to terrorism. We do not bow our head to anti-Semitism. We fight back. We do so on the battlefields of the Middle East. And with your help, we will fight anti-Semitism on the intellectual and political battlefields of the world. There is only one basic requirement for winning this war. I was recently in Washington, where I met President Trump. But I took time to meet 50 Jewish students, the leaders of tomorrow. They told me how they were being harassed on campus, violently harassed. One student told me that he was facing the dean of the university, who invited one of the Hamas killers to give a lecture in an elite American university. And I said, well, what are you doing about it? He said, I'm suing him. I said, good for you. This is exactly what you should be doing. Do not apologize. Do not bow your head. Stand strong. Stand together. And I say this to all of you. Thank you for your clarity. Thank you for your courage. God bless you all. God bless the Jewish people. And God bless the many friends of Israel here and around the world. Thank you.